Hey guys, today we're going to take a look at the new standard shape paddle from 11Six24, the Monarch All Court 16mm. The Monarch All Court is a standard shape Gen 2 paddle that's 15.82 by 8.04 with a 5.75 inch handle. It's got a curved top where the top corners flare out slightly and the core is 16mm. The surface is the same as the Hirachi X Control Plus model, one layer of carbon fiber followed by a layer of fiberglass, and then finished with another layer of carbon fiber on top to create what they call the CFC surface. It's basically the Hirachi X Control Plus in the shorter but wider standard shape, and with a slightly shorter handle at 5.75 versus 6 inches. For the swing weight and twist weight of the Monarch All Court, we got 109 and 7.21. For reference, the Hirachi X Control Plus we have has 118 and 6.35 for those measurements, which makes sense because standard shape paddles are quicker to swing and more stable on the horizontal axis. In terms of how the Monarch's numbers compare to other standard shape paddles, it's about average and in the middle of both for maneuverability and the twist weight. Like I said earlier, the Monarch All Court basically plays like a standard shape Hirachi X Control Plus. The two feel identical off the face. The CFC surface gives the paddle some extra pop compared to most raw carbon and Kevlar face paddles. I would place the Monarch All Court at number 2 for pop out of all the Gen 2 standard shape paddles, with the only paddle with more pop being the J3K Pro from the Honolulu Pickleball Company. Though personally, I really enjoy the feel of the CFC. Although the paddle is poppy, it's not super stiff feeling like other fiberglass or composite surfaces out there because it has that layer of carbon fiber in the front. To me, it seems like that first layer of carbon fiber gives you an initial plush feel on contact before the fiberglass layer adds in that extra pop to the ball, giving you a more pleasant feel off the face that isn't as stiff feeling as a pure fiberglass face. For power, the Monarch isn't going to be as powerful on drives as the Hirachi because of its shorter shape, but in terms of power compared to other standard shapes, it's still top tier. I would place the paddle third in power behind the J3K Pro and the Rhombus Pulsar R2 FX. Spin is comparable to the Hirachi, but what I want to talk about last is the design of its shape. As mentioned earlier, it has a rounded top, with the top two corners flaring out slightly and then tapering down, similar to what the Apollo and Mach 2 Forza do. I enjoy this design since the weight distribution is more towards the head of the paddle, which is where I generally tend to hit the ball, and this fits my sweet spot better. Also, it has the longest handle out of all the Gen 2 wide bodies I've used, which gives me that extra bit of torque on drives and flicks, though this isn't something for everyone. For example, the Apollo has a bit more paddle face at the bottom because of the shorter handle and wider throat taper, and that gives it a higher twist weight and a better overall sweet spot in comparison, so there are pros and cons to the shape design. Overall, I'm a big fan of the Monarch All Court, and this is one of my favorite paddles on the market right now. Out of all the Gen 2 standard shape paddles I've hit, this one has some of the best firepower and fits an aggressive playstyle for people who like to engage in firefights at the kitchen. For the standard shapes, it's top tier in both power and pop, while retaining a low swing weight and a good sweet spot. If you wanted the feel of the Hirachi X Control Plus with faster maneuverability and with a wider sweet spot, this is definitely a paddle to consider, as long as you are okay on losing out on some reach and power. However, if you're looking for a standard shape paddle with top tier control for resets and drops to go along with the wide sweet spot and forgiveness of a wide body shape, this is not one I'd recommend, and instead, I'd say the Valera Mach 2 Forza and J3K may be more up your alley. Personally, I just enjoy the feeling of the CFC surface, and having it in a standard shape lets me be a bit more consistent on resets and dinks compared to the elongated option, while also still giving me the firepower to be aggressive. The Monarch All Court comes in at an affordable price point of $140, which drops down to $130 with a discount code. If you do want to pick one up, I've added my discount code here and a link to buy one in the video description below.
Are you kidding me? Ah, not high enough.